This is Justin Vacula reporting from the floor of the Empowering Women Through Secularism conference in Dublin, Ireland, and I'm speaking with
Catherine O'Brien.
So tell the audience about yourself.
Well, I'm a member of Atheist Ireland, but I was also previous chair of the Humanist Association of Ireland. And I was asked today to chair one of the sessions.
Yes.
So that's my involvement today.
And toward the end of the conference, you had made some closing remarks. Unfortunately, I had gotten you confused with Jane Donnelly, but you're not Jane Donnelly.
No.
So you, yes.
Yeah. So basically, I was trying to get audience participation for this session. So I started by just drawing attention to some observations that I had, that in society in general, and at this point in time in the whole feminist movement and about empowering women, that it's important to broaden this out, that women's rights are human rights, and that in order to do that, we need to acknowledge and draw men in and raise their awareness about how damaging a patriarchal society is to them as well as to women, between the hierarchical setup and the pecking order, that in fact the vast majority of men do not actually have control over their lives either, and that to point out to them how valuable it would be for them to have more women in power, that the whole of society would benefit, and that this would be a consciousness-raising effort which would in time bring much greater change, and perhaps a lot faster than having an aggressive feminist approach and blaming men all the time.
You said here, I'm looking at the live tweets, men and women need to work together in society.
Yes.
That's right. Oh, we have 1 second. We're going to have to... All right, and we're back. We got a slight interruption there. We're reporting live, but that's okay. So you were saying here, men and women need to work together in society. One of the comments you made on stage was that in jails, 90% of men are incarcerated, and that the suicide rate is 4 times that of young women in men. So can you talk about that?
In Ireland? Well, I mean,
yes.
It's 93.6%, I think, in 2009 in American jails were men. So that's a ridiculous situation. I can't understand myself why men aren't actually wondering about in society. Why is that the case? Why are so many men in jail? Ireland is really looking very closely at the fact of why between 15 and 25, that age group, that it's 4 times higher, the rate of suicide in Ireland in that age group in men, in young men. So society needs to own this problem, needs to take it on. It's much bigger than, and by empowering women to take a much greater part in society and in decision making, both socially, culturally, economically, politically, men will benefit by this. And it's a question of raising awareness, looking at all the research that's out there, and making sure men see that this is in their own very interest, and get them campaigning and form alliances with feminist groups to make sure they too will benefit from a very changed, equal society with much greater social justice, social awareness, etc.
You had said here that you weren't going to make an apology for your remarks. What did you mean by that?
When? You mean just now?
Just now, when you were speaking at the podium. You had mentioned some of these issues. You said, I'm not going to make an apology for my remarks.
Oh, well, when some of the people from the floor, was it? Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, some of the people from the floor were saying, oh, no, we need to fight, we need to be very angry. I drew attention to the fact that I do think we need to fight. I do think that there's a lot of work to be done. But I am not for a split second saying that we can be complacent about this. It's actually a very urgent issue. So I was making no apology for the fact that I was drawing attention to the fact that men suffer as well as women. Now, I understand. It's not like looking for equal, we suffer much more than you do. Obviously women do. They own very little of the world's wealth. They're not in positions of power. In Ireland there are far too few. There are 15% represented in our Dáil. So, I mean, I'm not saying for a split second comparing. Of course, women's rights, the glass ceiling, all these issues need to be tackled. We need to have a quota system to get women, to give them that leg up. I am fully behind the quota system, or it will just move things forward a little bit more quickly. So I'm not getting complacent about this issue, but it seemed to come from the floor that the things I was saying was kind of, making excuses, which is not exactly, was absolutely not what I was saying.
Yeah, there are some people here on the live tweeting. They're on the conference hashtag here, and they're lamenting the fact that men's issues were brought up here, saying here there are problems for men that still stem over privileging of male characteristics over female ones. I understand, but we are not discussing misandry, rather the ways in which men are negatively affected by the patriarchy. There's another person saying here, men suffer as much as women, that's why I make more than most women here and have unconditional right to life and health. So it seems people are being quite lashing back.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
But was this what you were saying, that men suffer as much as women? This isn't what I heard at the podium.
No, of course that's not what I was saying. I was saying that it's a human right that we should be talking about. I mean, I'm not saying anything new here. I mean, right. In the United Nations, in the European human rights, they are saying, really, we have to start talking. Women's rights are human rights. Women's rights are human rights. So this thing of dividing it up as only women's rights demeans it. Because actually it's a much broader thing than just women's rights. It's human rights for all. So, I mean, I'm understand that I was trying to draw attention to look for allegiances, to look for other allies from all kinds of groups. And I'm really talking about raising awareness in terms of society and trying to move things faster.
Right.
So it's not a question of me being an apologist for the state, for the status quo. I mean, that's totally misinterpreting what I was saying.
There's another tweet here. Someone says, what about the men's with the Z question? Misandry is not a real thing. Very disillusioned with the conference now.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry they felt that way, but they've totally misinterpreted what I was saying. So that's unfortunate. I think I have learned over the years that people will hear what they want to hear, and that's not what I was saying. That's all I can actually say about that. That's misinterpreting absolutely what I was saying. There's
another person here saying that they think you're going to be criticized and attacked for some of the comments that you had made. How do you feel about that?
Needless to remark, it saddens me, and I don't have a thick neck. I'm not out there, I'm not a political person, I'm just doing my best. A conference of approximately 120 people. So, I mean, it actually puts the likes of me, who has genuine, passionate desire for equality in society, it puts me off sticking my neck out. Because I am, not a typical person who loves to go out there and just shout. It's from very sincere motives. So, of course, these type of comments will put the likes of me off.
And final question based on something else you said. You said anger can be destructive. We need to turn it into constructive activism. Until then, it is useless.
Yeah, it's with the individual. You can be angry in your living room. You can kick your television set. You can throw something out the window. That's absolutely useless. It damages you. Unless you can then turn that into some kind of action. I mean, the psychology is out there for this. I'm not saying anything new here. This isn't controversial even. I mean, this is such an understood concept that anger itself is useless and only damages the individual. But it is a huge motivator into action. If you turn that anger into action, you actually feel much better about it, and you're doing something about the problem. But just anger by itself, as some people suggested here, no, that's useless.
All right, anything else to add?
No. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you for speaking and the conference. So,
Thanks.
Have a good one. Thanks
you too. Bye.
Thanks for chatting.